Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a Fallout 5 video of sorts. So I'd imagine from the title you're probably assuming I'm going to clickbait here. I'm not. I do have a point. And yeah, I do think this whole scenario that's kicked off in the last day or so is much ado about nothing. It's a storm in a teacup and it changes absolutely nothing. And whilst a lot of this is somewhat speculatory, this is drawing on what we've been looking at for the last 7 years at this point, at least. So I think we've got some basis for this one. Anyway, to the point, what has been going on lately? Well, earlier this week, we got some... No, we didn't. I was going to say we got some news about Fallout 5. We didn't. We got something that was masquerading as news, but is in fact absolutely makes no difference whatsoever. So, early in the week, Jez Corden, who is the editor at Windows Central, a journalist covering particularly Windows and Microsoft and Xbox and all of that stuff, it kind of leans that way. He went on the Xbox 2 podcast, so guess what that covers, and talked about a whole bunch of things related to the recent shit show over at Xbox and Microsoft and so on and so forth. And it really is. It's not good. So, in and amongst all of that, one of the things he said is that Fallout 5 has been officially greenlit. Except there's nothing official about this, because it's coming from a journalist who may or may not have a source for this. Obviously, he wouldn't reveal said source, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. On the other hand, he did, by his own admission on this very same podcast, say that getting information out of Bethesda is rather difficult. They are quite famously reticent about sharing stuff early on. We do get some leaks out of there, but it tends to be later on in a project's lifespan. We tend to already know the project is coming before those leaks start to appear. Early on, it's not a never case, but it's less frequent, so yeah. He's not wrong in them having relatively tight lips. However, to then turn around and say, this is a thing that's happening, makes it a little bit more tenuous when you do that. Anyway, I'm not going to assume he's making stuff up. I'm going to go ahead and assume it is the case that Fallout 5 has been greenlit. So what does that mean? Well, in real terms, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So officially it means that they're moving forward on a project that we already knew that they were going to move forward on, and we already knew when they were going to move forward on it. Yeah, we knew this anyway. We've known most of this since 2018. So if you cast your memory back to 2018, summer of June 2018, we had E3, back when that was still a thing, and Bethesda revealed at their showcase, you had Todd Howard on stage, the whole 9 yards, revealed Fallout 76, that went on to launch later that year, so it was kind of the first major reveal. Then they revealed that the game they were working on after that was Starfield, that's out now. Then they revealed that the next game after that was Elder Scrolls 6, which they're currently working on. Brings us up to date. And 2 and 2 coming out at, at least something in the region of 4, meant that the game after that would be Fallout 5. And then a little while after that, I'm not sure if it was the end of 2021 or somewhere into 2022, there was an interview that Todd Howard did discussing Starfield at the time, wherein he pointed out that they had an initial sort of idea and overview, very, very general one, nothing massively specific, but they had their initial ideas starting to form for Fallout 5, all the way back then. And that came straight from the horse's mouth, Todd Howard. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they're making a game at that point. In fact, it means they're not. It means they're just talking about a game they want to make. But it just continues what we already know. So, yeah, when you look at the schedule for Bethesda games, we knew that Fallout 5 was coming in this window. So the green light is, assuming it's real, it's a thing. It means it's slightly more likely to happen than it was before, but seeing as it was pretty much a dead cert anyway, what does it change? And seeing all this over the internet is mostly it's journalists trying to create news out of nothing because that's what they do. But yeah, it's just daft. This is not some great revelation. Obviously, there's also the possibility that nothing happens at all because, Xbox do cancel games. They're not going to cancel this one, and it's just not very likely anyway. I mean, it's not that they wouldn't if it was not working and development was terrible, but if you look at the stuff they've cancelled recently, it's either new IPs or games that are having troubled development cycles, with a view to, allegedly anyway, focusing on more established franchises. Fallout definitely falls into the established franchise bucket. Incidentally, so does Elder Scrolls, and there are some people out there apparently worried that this is a bad sign for TES 6. It's not. If this Greenlight thing actually makes any difference at all, it just confirms that the next thing they're going to do is start producing music and concept art for Fallout 5. Bear in mind, Bethesda's way of putting things together is to start with music and concept art first. Well, pretty much everybody does that, but Bethesda lean a little more towards the music than most people do, I think. Well, so they say, anyway. So they say, you know. Anyway, point is, that's where they're going to start, and they'll probably be starting it... Well, actually, they probably won't start it for a year or two yet. If we look back at Bethesda's release schedule, we can get some idea of the likely release year window or so for Fallout 5. And this also has not changed. Because let's go all the way back to Fallout 3. That one launched, that was, 2008, I believe? Thereabouts. And 3 years later came Skyrim. Then 4 years after that came Fallout 4. Then 3 years after that came Fallout 76. And then we get Starfield, which came out 5 years later, but that's a bit of an anomaly because you've got a whole new IP, whereas with the other stuff, they've already got history, lore, world building in place. With Starfield, none of that existed. They were starting from a blank slate, so that takes longer. They also rebuilt the whole creation engine to a new version of it. It's still the same engine, but it's been upgraded, and that takes more time than the usual small upgrades they do. And then, of course, COVID happened in that time as well, and that slows everybody down because they all had to go and work from home. So, yeah, not surprising that Starfield took a little bit longer. So, the other factor, of course, is that during the course of that time, games have only gotten bigger and bigger and more complex. Now, the amount of staff that Bethesda have to draw on has gone up as well, but I think we can assume that the rate of production is not going to get faster. It's going to stay about the same, much as they would like it to do otherwise. It has been heavily hinted by Todd Howard as well that the rate of progress is not likely to get any faster. He hasn't come out and said it, but you can kind of see from what he's not saying. Or in some interviews in the past, anyway. So let's go with 4 years being the most likely scenario on that. And that means Elder Scrolls 6 will most likely be out at the back end of 2027, with Starfield being out in 2023. So that's on with their current rhythm, and the rhythm for the last, nearly 20 years. Not quite, but nearly. If we keep that rhythm further going forward, that means the earliest likely date for Fallout 5 is 2031. Now, if we look that they're in mid-production on Elder Scrolls 6 right now, that's rolling along. They greenlight, allegedly, Fallout 5 now. That basically means nothing has changed because the timing is still flowing along in exactly the same way it always was. So, yeah. Again, this changes nothing. Obviously, if there ends up being delays to Elder Scrolls 6 for whatever reason games happen to get delayed for, there's about a bajillion possible reasons for doing that, that would then push Fallout 5 even further down the line, wouldn't it? But that's basically where it is. So, yeah. Ultimately, what we knew anyway is still the case. And this piece of news that has apparently got the internet chattering like crazy is nothing. I'm trying to think myself whether or not it's going to make massive impacts to what's going on inside of Bethesda and the people who are actually doing the work, you know? I don't think most of them will have their flow, their passage of time, or whatever you want to look at it, affected by this anyway. Everything is carrying on as expected, and I would think that's kind of the same for them too. I mean, it might mean that accountants have to start doing some additional work now, but I suspect if they know what's going on in the larger picture, which they probably know considerably more than I do, then they were predicting this anyway, and again, not unexpected. So yeah, nothing changing. There is a question out there that is the usual BS. There's nothing behind it other than stirring up chatter on the internet. But still, it's going around as to whether or not, say, Obsidian or somebody else could end up making Fallout 5. No, it's not going to happen. It's not impossible that they might make a New Vegas-like follow-up, as in a sidestep from the mainline Fallout games. But there'll be a cold day in hell before you get a mainline Fallout game made by somebody other than Bethesda. You'd have to pry the franchise from Todd Howard's cold, dead hands, and I mean that way more literally than you'd think. More in a retirement sense than any other, but shy of that happening, and that's not happening soon, Fallout 5 is not going to be made by somebody other than BGS. It will be a Bethesda Game Studios release following Elder Scrolls 6. It's just not going to happen. It was bought so that the franchise that Bethesda have made huge could be continued within Microsoft, within Xbox. So taking it away from them is not something they can do. That said, the success and sort of fan feeling for New Vegas means a side game is more likely from somebody like Obsidian. Saying that, though, it's a bit of a question as to whether or not the heck Obsidian can actually manage to do that. Anyway, in 2025 alone, Obsidian are releasing 3 games. So we've had Avowed already, Grounded 2 is coming out somewhere around about now. If it's not already out, it's very, very soon. And then, of course, The Outer Worlds 2 comes out at the latter part of the year. And those are huge releases, and that's 3 massive releases from one studio, and they put out Penitent, I think it was, last year as well. So they are busy people, in short. So having those games finished, though, does mean that bandwidth opens up for something else. Whether or not that might be a New Vegas follow-up is pie in the sky at this point. There's no word on that. So it's theoretically more possible than it was a year or 2 ago. But I don't know. Follow-ups to their other successful games will also be on the cards as well. So how they're going to organise that, we'll have to wait and actually hear about. But yeah, it ain't going to be Fallout 5 if they do something along those lines. Anyway, before I go around in any more circles, that's kind of what I wanted to say about this. It's cool to hear, and I'm definitely pleased to have that slight bit of extra information that suggests Fallout 5 is progressing as expected. I am looking forward to this when it happens. I've got a number of theories. I'm curious to see how many of them actually pan out. But this changes nothing compared to where we were already. And yeah, I really can't see that it changes anything in an unexpected manner, shall we say, for even the staff at Bethesda. Because they must have known this was coming as well. It's, we're going to be working on Fallout 5 next. Yeah, we know. It's that kind of vibe. So the internet's response to it just seems insane to me. Entirely predictable, but also insane at the same time. Anyway, there we go. That sort of clears up where I'm thinking on this and the whole daftness of the situation. So I'm just saying, take a lot of this chatter out there with a big old grain of salt, because it really doesn't change anything at all. And yeah, those who are worried about Elder Scrolls 6 maybe being impacted by this, I very, very, very much doubt it'll have any impact on that either. So, yeah, it's carrying on as it was. Anyway, I hope that was somewhat interesting to you guys, and it gave me the opportunity to get this rant off my chest, because it's been annoying me since I woke up and read a whole bunch of nonsense articles about it this morning. So there we go. Hope you found this interesting and informative. If you did like the video, please consider dropping subs and likes. Of course, I will bring any actually useful news about Fallout 5 when it emerges to you. So yeah, you know where the buttons are if you're interested in that. If you want to support the channel directly, you can check out the channel memberships. And yeah, keep an eye out for live streams as well. We've got plenty of stuff to check out there, both Bethesda related and beyond as well, if you're interested. Yeah, love to have you there. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.